Welcome, everybody, back to KC Happy Hour, episode number 67. Aaron Hackmeister joins me here in the booth tonight, and along with that, of course, we have the man who made his final no-shifter appearance here. A little tear across the face for us. But Jake French joins us. Jake, thanks for making some time tonight, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Braden Eves, a regular co-star of the show, is back after his SuperNats appearance. Got your onboard already uploaded. You are ahead of the game, my friend.
Yeah. What can I say? The one race that I always upload for sure.
So, Aaron, you got some stats for us, some numbers. Why don't you hit everybody with them here with this week now that we're all done and dusted?
Yeah, so we ended up officially at 595 entries. There was not a single class under 40. I think the lowest was 42 in Shifter Masters, and the average like 60 entries per class out there. So it was really cool. And then on top of the podium, we ended up with 7 different countries that came out and represented, winning one of the finals over the weekend. The U.S., Great Britain, Mexico, Latvia was a big one. Spain, and then I'm forgetting the other two. See if I can pull it up real quick. But yeah, 7 different countries out there is a really impressive amount. Usually I feel like we don't see as many. Obviously, last year Ryan Orberg winning was a big American win in X30 Senior, so that was cool to see as well.
Yeah, we had a big foreign presence, right? This year we had over 160, I think, Australians that came and ran the event, with finally everything kind of opened up borders-wise after the pandemic. That opens things up a lot. There was a little bit of news that came out over the week. I wanted to go ahead and touch on that stuff as well as we look forward. Cool stuff for Daytona Kart Week coming up for those of you guys that'll be headed down south in between Christmas and New Year's. Unfortunately, we will not. We won't be there at that one. I think our kickoff of the year is going to be the SKUSA Winter Series, and then hopefully on through, the rest of the winter championships. We're still kind of working some stuff out to, hopefully get over the Rock Winter Tour. I'd love to get back there. I'd love to get to the SKUSA Winter Series. I haven't spoken to WK, but they are going to be streaming. They've got Pit Row TV, which is a subscription service that does a lot of dirt kart racing. In classic WK fashion. It's just a quick little Facebook post, but I ran across it earlier this week driving home. They're going to have those guys there. So for those of you guys who won't be able to watch your racing from Daytona Kart Week, there's going to be someone there to do that, which is cool. Again, it doesn't always have to be us. I'm happy that it's not. I'm happy there's more people doing it. That's been a big mission from ours from the start, and I have a whole mission video I've been wanting to put together for a long, long time, and I'm going to try and make sure I do that here in this gap that we have in the season for about a month and a half. I'll still be busy a little bit. I'm going to go see the family here later this week back in Atlanta. We just got back to Texas about 30 minutes ago in the RV after our 20-hour drive for the last 2 days, and the Sunshine State Karting Challenge that I help with. I'll be back down in Homestead for that in the middle of December. So still a little bit busy on the off week. Lots of planning for 2023. We'll talk to everybody a little more on that stuff as we get to it. But I just wanted to touch on that. WK is going to have streaming for Daytona Kart Week for the first time in almost 15 years. They've done it with some groups in the past. This is an organization, like I said, with a dirt karting background, but karting people, and they're already on property. So it made sense for them. Not saying that we were in the bidding for it. We weren't. I haven't really talked to them about any of it, and I probably haven't done myself any favors for calling out a lot of the stuff that I don't like on this show, which is something else that we'll get to later. But there's a lot to break down about SuperNats. Before we get to the SuperNat stuff, that'll come in segments 2 and 3, at least on everybody else. Jake, Braden, obviously racing in the event here, so let's have you guys give you a little bit of time on the platform to talk through your week and everything through it. Jake, obviously this one means a whole lot to you. Last big race ever, you did double duty, week all the way through.
It started off being pretty busy, running 2 classes, even though it's in the morning and afternoon. Still not a whole lot of time to prep karts, get things ready. So it definitely was a handful a little bit, especially Wednesday when I unfortunately crashed pretty hard. That we had to build a whole new kart and stuff. So that threw a wrench in things. But besides that, I mean, honestly, it was great. The atmosphere was great. There's a lot of people there. It was good to see everybody. For the last race, I probably couldn't ask for any more of it. So,
yeah, super, super cool. And to get the podium, right? You got some hardware to walk away from it after penalties. Sells at top 5.
Yeah.
Actually out on the stage.
Stand on the podium though.
Yeah,
sucked, but
yeah,
no, it was good to get a top 5. I do feel bad Martin got a penalty, but it was cool to get a top 5 to end it off. especially being the highest America too, which is also nice.
Yeah, man. Was that? Well, no, I wouldn't say second year because AJ got you last year, right, for highest American.
AJ did.
Yeah, he did. That was another hot topic too. So curious to hear from both of your guys' backgrounds. Jake, you've done car racing as well, more showcase stuff, both on the oval track side, years past, and then you did the F4 championship off that Honda scholarship for a little bit, and then Braden, so many years on the road to Indy and other kinds of racing. SuperNats is, this year especially, right? Such a big show. We had a lot of viewers back home. We basically doubled the viewership that they had on Sunday last year. And then between the viral clips that went out, there's about 5 to 10 million impressions just off our pages alone about SKUSA SuperNats 25 between the Saraceno spin to some of the other clips that we've had that went up. And I know our Instagram was over a million reached. We got reposted on Overtime Sports, which is an Instagram page with 7 million followers that has over 1 million views on their single reel of the Saraceno spin. Our TikTok has somewhere around 500,000 to 1 million, and then Facebook and YouTube with a ton of people reached, which was super cool. So it's a show. And, everything comes out. We do the opening ceremonies, right? And part of, being a show and being like professional racing is trying to have that post-race ceremony, right when the emotions are raw for everybody, But even this year and in years past, certain years past, not every single year past, there were even guys with pushback penalties that knew they were going to get bumped off the podium that got sent around to the top 5. And, not to knock SKUSA at all on the process, but, what's your guys' take on like podiums right after the race? I don't know if there's a quick enough way on the penalty system if we're sitting there for 10 minutes in an impound, but, compared to the normal way we do it with podiums at the very, very end of the day. Jake, again, you can speak for a lot of people. There were a lot of penalties, called in that did affect the overall race results. So, from your selfish point of view or from an overall holistic view from SuperNats, would you like the podium deal to be changed or be a little different?
Yeah, I get why they do it. I guess you can call it live, really, because it's right after the race. The most people are there that were watching the race. So, it's probably the biggest crowd you're going to get for an award ceremony. Usually if you do them after the event's done, it's really just the people that got the trophy, maybe their dads or team manager or whatever. So I think they're trying to do that, but also like you were saying, it makes it difficult when you have so many penalties. I mean, you could have 3 guys in top 5 that have penalties, and then those 3 guys even get to stand on the podium. So personally, for me, I kind of like it better after the event's done. Maybe do the awards after the morning sessions, and then do another award ceremony after the night sessions. That way, just some penalties get done, dealt with, and all that, and then it's a true top 5. But I think that's what I would want.
Braden, what about you?
I think it's really cool how they do it right there. Get the emotions raw, and that's how really every series across the world, whether it's Formula One, IndyCar, junior formulas are all the same way, and kind of the similar situation to what Jake had actually when I was racing at the Formula One weekend. When I was racing F4, I ended up finishing 4th, but there was a penalty and I didn't get to go on the podium, which is actually a bummer because that was one, Formula One weekend was one that we really wanted to get on the podium. But I mean, that's just kind of an issue that you kind of have to look past because, everyone wants the podium straight after.
Yeah, I think obviously F1, the penalty systems, penalties in general could be quicker in a 20-car field, right? So, we've seen it time and time again where, they've come into the cool down room and pulled a guy out and put a new guy in on the box. And from a time perspective, at Super Sunday, I mean, we could run those main events probably until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I know SKUSA is kind of timid about running too late, on Sunday because there are people that will book flights, but my happy medium would to at least try and, go through penalties and pushbacks and then do it before tech, because tech is a 30-minute process. It takes so long. In that case, like the guys for Power, for Norberg, and I don't know if there's anyone else in the top 5 on the podiums. Those were the big notables because they were in class at the end of the day, and obviously Norberg in a headline class that would have changed the top 5. But that to me is a lot more standard to practice of like, NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, right? Like if there's a penalty, that'll be adjusted quick enough. And I think that if you had, just maybe 5 to 10 minutes of overlap time there. And again, like from a media perspective, right, I'm a big proponent for them being at the end of the day, because I think that it like, like you said, Braden, it adds to the show. If we want to make this sport, less net expensive, or make it more sustainable to have lengthy careers in it, like with Jake and like with yourself, we got to find ways to bring more money in from outside, and it's tough to do that when you start making it, you lean into what would be more pure of a Podium, how we've done it always traditionally, these other events, but that's way less, less spectacular for the show, right? Like Jake said, with the biggest crowd that, you'll ever see all year. So, I would be open to a 10-minute kind of window to finish up penalties, because I don't think you need that much longer during the race, especially if you're doing it every race. You usually won't get caught behind. Because that's a big thing that happens on the big races too. We run so many classes back to back to back to back to back through the heat races that they're running on their video system, usually penalty review from a session or 2 sessions prior sometimes, just to clean and finish that decision up. So, and with the 10-minute gap, like, we can do stuff in that period. Like, we can go and do post-race interviews, or we could make a cool down room section for, guys. And I think you could media that up and make it entertaining, right? There's ways to make dead spots entertaining, like during the shifter main with, Gary and Formal or Wick and Formal, having their team scramble to rebuild carts like IME Grands. I mean, we were able to fill time what would have otherwise been a very boring red flag segment. And on the flip side, if we had our cameras run over there because that happened, had that not happened, then we would have probably sent the cameras down to Jake and down to Pedro and down to everyone and done, interviews on the racetrack during the red flag. But by the time that they finally got the carts picked up and got down, it was almost time to get back into the go-karts and go. So, there's ways to fill like short gaps. I think like a 30 to 45-minute gap, and especially you don't want to put pressure on tech at the biggest race. Like, you want everything torn down to bits and pieces and everything checked to the nth degrees. I don't think till Pro Shifter was about to run, if I can remember back when I got the text, that the first 4 classes had finally cleared, because there's that protest period and there's the tech period. So, we're talking hours after that they were finally ready to hand out and let people walk away with trophies from the day. I mean, Jake, for you, what was the delay on getting your P5 trophy? How long did you think?
It was about a couple hours. Yeah.
Yep.
So
like
maybe even longer. I mean, it was pretty long.
Yeah. Which, like, again, if we're just on a participant only race, right? Like, all good, do it like a pro tour, do it like every other race, every regional, every club race, like, that's fine. And I think that's how a lot of that lower level racing should be. But, if we're talking about a level above it, then that's what we should do. And the couple guys were commenting on scaling here. Aaron, why don't you go pull that one up, read it out.
So Oliver Calvo, senior driver, he's one at the summer nats and stuff. He was asking what the point of the pushback bumpers and weighing in is if they haven't even gotten checked in the final. And this is something that I heard also from Chase Jones and some other guys was, if you were out of the top 10, they didn't bother with pushback penalties. They didn't bother with weighing the car. They took the top 10, put them through scales, put them into tech, and everybody just was free to go. And I thought it was a little strange as well. I wasn't really sure how to respond to that. I can kind of understand where, like, if you're out of the top 10, it's not really, like, it doesn't matter to some level because you didn't get in there. But it's also, you make it out of the LCQ, you might as well take all the weight off your cart and just go, because you're probably not making it in the top 10. You wouldn't even need to worry about it then at that point.
Yeah, I mean, right, like, it's an ego thing at that point, because there's no payout past the top 5 and there's no points. So, you want to know where you finish. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Obviously the fact that it happened this year, they shouldn't do it next year, like they should go back and scale it. Like, it's fine for like one-off if like everyone's expecting to scale and then we don't get scaled, right? No one's gonna preemptively take off weight. A couple guys might have been a pound or 2 light, but now that they all went through it and we come back to SuperNats 26, people might try and run that risk if they don't think that they'll hit the top 5 and take all the weight off that if they got a lot. So I didn't even know about that. Did you see that in Pro Shifter, Drake, after you went through the scales?
Yeah,
was it the same thing?
In the final, they only wanted the top 10. They said if you're not inside the top 10, you don't have to weigh. You can pick up your cart and go.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like, it's a non-points race, but It's not something that, that's like a surprise you get like once every couple of years to do.
It was a little strange.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, like, that's only been done, I've seen at the club level, at the GoPro Motorplex club races, because, and I don't know if it's done because I think there's one or two other clubs in the country. I don't know 100% for Prairie City, I think. Donald Durbin's tracks, no, they do split days, not half and half days. But the GoPro Motorplex club races are half and half days. And so when you have 6 classes in the morning for a club race of warm-up, quality, pre-final, final, and like club race lengths, so you're talking, 8-minute heats, 10-minute or 12-minute mains, and 3-lap qualifying, like the scales back up. So in that case, they normally do top 5, and then and sometimes they'll do a random draw to go to the scales there. But that's the only, time I've seen it. But in this case, like, yeah, even from Jerry Brown here, not scanning the tires outside the top 10, like, obviously doesn't matter for that day. Not now. Word will get out. So, no, they need to go back and make sure that next year, unfortunately, they'll probably have to go through that whole process and take the time to. But there's no reason not to, So, I mean, it's people still care about where you finish. I mean, otherwise, how's Braden going to make his thumbnail that he went all the way up to 10th, like, right, Braden?
Yeah, exactly.
So keep on sending in comments, guys. We got a lot we want to talk about. I liked having Jake on the show here and previously and talking with him from a shifter background on the track layout. Braden can obviously talk to us about the track design. Haven't gone through it and raced it. There was tire degradation. There was a lot of engine grenading. There was racecraft stuff to talk about. So we're going to get into all of that as you guys continue to tune on in. We're going to run one quick commercial break here. We'll come back. We'll get into a lot of that stuff as the show goes on. And again, keep sending in comments, questions, thoughts about it. And I've also, while we've got the time, I would love to give you guys a little bit of an idea of how our week went for the broadcast side, because it's such a massive undertaking. There's a lot of thanks to go around. So all that coming up here in just a little bit, guys. Kart Store USA is a kart parts supplier that racers and retailers can count on when they need reliable advice and service. We focus on servicing all racers with honesty and pride while maintaining customer satisfaction. We carry a full stock of Kart Republic and Tony Kart chassis, as well as IAMI and Vortex Rock engines. We've also got a host of other parts available and in stock, such as products from Rev Performance Materials, Jecco Racing Seats, and more. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, and on top of that, if your order exceeds $200, shipping is on us. Check out all we have to offer today by visiting us online at kartstore-usa.com. At New Gen Motorsport, we're committed to using our 10-plus years of experience and knowledge to help grow the sport of karting from the bottom up. Our goal is to make karting more accessible to the average person, lessening the financial burden of getting started, and making the learning curve as small as possible. Our passion is training and developing drivers, mechanics, and engineers to not only be the best they can be in karting, but also for careers in the much larger world of professional motorsports. A strong foundation makes building bigger easier. Let us be that foundation for your karting and motorsports career. Be part of the new generation of motorsport. Contact us today to schedule your test day, arrive and drive race event, or to inquire about how we can help get you started in your own new gen racing kart. Don't settle for a national engine builder. Take care of yourself with an international one. SRP Engines is a global industry leader in engine services, specializing in engine formulas such as KZ, OK, OKJ, and Mini 60. SRP Engines is the engine of choice for Magic Kart USA and helped power North America's #1 ranked pro shifter driver AJ Myers to the 2021 SuperKarts USA Pro Tour National Championship. SRP Engines can also service any spec engine class of your choice, including IAMI and ROC divisions. However, if you're looking for the absolute choice when it comes to KZ shifter engines, there is nobody better. For more information, contact Amar Sanada at srp-engines.com. KC Happy Hour is proudly presented by the Rock Sonoma Karting Championship, presented by Cameron Race Promotions, the most competitive Northern California karting series. Featuring a 2-day format with practice on Saturday and racing on Sunday, multiple track configurations, and a massive prize structure including tickets to Rock Vegas, race car test opportunities, and race rewards. Rock Sonoma is the training ground of multiple national karting champions each year and race car champions as well. Featuring a full Rock Cup USA class structure with each race weekend streamed live via YouTube, it's a series you cannot miss. For more info, check us out online at zanzarukarting.com. All right, guys, welcome back here to KC Happy Hour episode number 67. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the event here, what do we think about this, guys? This is from Tony Kart Racer saying, why don't they run the Vegas Super Final on Saturday night? It's Vegas, should be run at night. I'm sure more folks would attend than on an early Sunday morning in Vegas. Jake, thoughts?
Well, it would probably only be certain classes. I don't think they can get through all the classes in one night. That would be a stretch. But I mean, that is a good point. I mean, I think that would be pretty cool.
Braden, what about you?
I don't know. I think it's fine the way they do it. I mean, it kind of introduces another sort of element of not knowing how it's going to go for the people that have been racing at night all week. And then, we're in the day with everyone new tires. It just changes everything. So it makes it a little bit more challenging from a tuning and driving perspective. So I think it's good the way it is, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm all for night main events. I think it looks really cool. I think the thing about SuperNAS is it gives more of the Indy 500 vibes than like a motocross Saturday night show or Saturday night short track, right? Like Miami Grands. Granted, that one's still kind of the same thing the way the night goes, right? We have those shootout races Friday and Saturday night, which are really cool, and so it kind of has a little bit of both worlds. And then Sunday, a little more ceremonious, but like with the opening ceremonies, Sunday with every class kind of back together, there's something to be said for that too, because if they were going to do Saturday night mains, I mean, like Jake said, you could do it one or two ways. We've done and it's been done before, the way Jake's describing, where the SKUSA California Pro Kart Challenge with the Lancaster Street Race, the last couple years, they took X30 and Pro Shifter, and they'd run them Saturday night, and those guys were done Sunday because they knew that they'd have more of a crowd in downtown Lancaster Saturday night. So I think Saturday and Pro Kart's normally just, again, that 2-day show format. It was a 3-day show there with a couple practices Friday, qualifying, warm-up qualifying, Heat 1, Heat 2 Saturday. And I think Sunday, those guys, the other support classes, either had their second heat and the main, or just had a warm-up and a main. And then that way they were done with the race by 2 or 3 p.m. Sunday. So for a 3-day regional show, people could get on the road. So it's possible to do. I think it'd be cool, but that event screams just as much Indy 500 as it does, late night Saturday show. And although it'd be, I'm a big proponent for having like a Saturday night, Friday night street race, or even parking lot race. I mean, I think the parking lot model, is something that we overlook and sometimes we kind of talk down on, but because of track designs, and that's the one thing I want to segue this into. But that's something that like can get our sport into cities. I mean, most of our racetracks are half hour, 45 minutes, an hour outside of downtown. And if we want to, again, have a level above or a level to the side or whatever you want to call it, but something other than a participant entry fee funded event, we need to go to the fans and go out to them, and think outside the box and be open to stuff not working in the same way NASCAR's done the Clash at the Coliseum, and, IndyCar with the Nashville Grand Prix and other street races that they've done. I mean, they're literally moving Detroit's Grand Prix from Belle Isle, which is turned out to be a really, really good track for a temporary course, to a track with, it's only one right-hand turn, right, Braden, for the Detroit IndyCar track they're doing in downtown, I think.
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's one or two. It's literally like an L shape like this. Like it's a box, and then there's just one right-hand 90, I'm pretty sure. And
it's like Rock Island.
Yeah, it's very similar to Rock Island. It's very similar, right? But again, Rock Island too. Granted, Rock Island doesn't have the lights, right? But that would be wild, for Rock Island, for that city to go Saturday night for the King of the Streets main. So that would be really cool. But talking, let's go track design, right, for this deal. So Jake, your perspective from Shifter, I think in last year, obviously there was the attempted pass that Longy did that took out AJ. I didn't watch every single Shifter heat last year. And where I'm talking about this pass is in those chicanes. We didn't really see any passes in the chicanes or even into the turn 6 corner after it. Going back to 2021, can you remember if there was any shuffling in those chicane corners with enough braking or not really?
Yeah, you could pass into, I guess, what would be turns 3 and 4 on this layout, that tighter chicane. You could pass into it.
Yeah,
it was really sketch, and like you said, AJ, I think, got involved in a wreck there or tangled up with somebody. Longy, I think it was. But this direction, no, it was impossible. It was all single file.
And then Braden, we'll go to constructive criticism in a minute. But Braden, from the X30 side, the single speed side, I mean, those classes normally don't need as much emphasis on designing a track that can race because of the way that it packs up and it's easier to pass than a shifter. So, from your perspective on the track layout, what was your take on the whole deal?
So I thought the track layout would have been a lot better if SKUSA had properly done the curbs, because at least in my opinion, so they did the track almost identical curb wise to when they did it the other direction, and they would make all of the curbs, like when you're entering the corner, it would kind of be difficult to it's kind of difficult to describe, but the curbs should be more like arched into the corner on the way in, so that you can have people coming up the inside and have room to actually enter into the corner on the inside. And it was more so designed for the other direction, so it made the entries of the corner a lot more tight and made the racing lines a little bit different. But overall, it really made a track that would have raced extremely well just raced kind of averagely well, but that's just because it's Supernats, and they're always going to find ways to make it race decently well on at a Supernats race.
And Jake, that's exactly kind of right on the same track you and I were talking about, and it's something that we've dived into the show in the Vegas season last year, right? And even through the winter tours this year of, what you can do and what do we need to do to kind of give you guys with the gearboxes, front brakes. Really, again, the gearbox is the biggest thing. The front brakes is less relevant. It's just the fact you could pop down a gear and park it center of the corner and launch off, that makes it so much easier to both defend passes and that much harder to get by a guy. So, you were saying, and you could describe it a little better, right? It's little differences they could do with the barriers and how they kind of set up the entry and exits to the corners to make it easier for you guys, right?
Yeah, like the corner that I passed in, I don't know the corner numbers. Was it corner number 8?
7.
Or number 7, yes.
Yeah.
So, and just like what Brendan was saying is that the curves kind of stuck out in a way. So if you're against the barrier and all you got to do is just move over a cart to make the corner, it's almost impossible to have a cart go on the inside. But if the left side barriers were a little opened up and the curve wasn't sticking out so far, you make it to where you can have a 5-cart lane. It's really easy to just dive down in there in the inside. Even if you're blocking mid-track, you still have a lot of track to the right of you that can do it. If you block mid-track going to that corner, you can't get in the inside. You'll run over a curb or hit somebody.
Yeah.
Like I almost did.
Yeah. Speaking of it here, we have that clip, so let's go ahead and we'll pull it up. And we'll let everybody see that final pass of your pro shifter career here. And you can see, like, right there, right? Like, just literally.
Yeah, you can see right where the corner marshal's standing, where the barriers actually moved back out to the left, as well as the curb. Well, it made it really difficult to be able to go down on the inside. And so, really, when I passed him, I was mid-track.
Yeah.
If the corner radius was right.
Yeah, so, like, we pause it, like, right here, right? Like,
yeah, see, the barriers stick out. So right now, as I'm passing, I'm going towards down in the middle of the track. But if the barriers went straight, it would have been a lot easier, a lot safer, a lot easier to pass overall, with the barriers going straight and the curve being a little bit more tighter radius.
Right, and the outside barrier, like that, it did kick out a little bit, right?
A little bit, but it needed a little bit more.
Yeah, like that's what if the outside goes out, where the normal line is like to follow the outside track and take that dog leg left, right? Yep. But then the inside of the track stays straight going in. You again widen that entry.
Yeah, right? Yeah, because a lot of people stay over next to the barrier to get the optimal racing line, and all you got to do is just dive down in there. But it made it really, really tight and hard to pass.
Well, it made it a good pass there. And then that's the other part, right, about that pass, right? This hip check, this is about the most contact you can do, right? Without, I mean, perfectly planted, right? Your tire went right into his pod. Like, tire to tire, you're dead. On the rear tire, on the front tire, if you go in from behind, you knock the bumper in. I mean, that's what made it so tough for you guys, even more than the single-speed guys. Single-speed guys, pushbacks or whatever, I mean, they were brought in specifically for them. They weren't really brought in so much for you guys.
Yeah, I thought I was crashing.
Really?
I had Lungy breathing down my neck, and I knew he really wanted to get in front of me, so I had to go. So it was, I mean, one of my last races, so I just fully sent it. But yeah, it actually ended up working better than I thought.
See, I fully expected him, to maybe be like, if Jake's as fast as me, like I'll let him have it, right? Like knowing, but you don't think that you think he would have still run you hard if your tires weren't dead?
Oh yeah, he would have gone for it because we knew we were fighting for that podium position. That was for fifth. So
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we have a couple of other passes that we got submitted here. I'm going to add those in after the break that we'll hit on the third segment. But that was one thing. I going the other direction, how we were last year, right? Into turn number one. How was that for you guys? Because with the dog leg full throttle, that naturally shot you out to the outside of the racetrack. Like if you could think back to 2021, that first hairpin, how was that from a gearbox perspective?
are you talking about from the hairpin finish line dog leg or like all the way down the main street?
No, so going back last year, down the main straight, full throttle 90, and then
Yep.
the turn one hairpin.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Back to the
I thought
finish
that
line.
was excellent.
Yeah,
That raced a lot better. I mean, you can even in a shifter, you can get a draft and pull out. With the dog leg, I mean, it made it more difficult to try to swing over and block all the way down on the barriers. So it was definitely better racing wise. The dog leg was wide open for us easily. So there wasn't really any like trying to get a run or anything like that. It was mainly draft or better tune on the motor, but it made for a great passing opportunity.
yeah, and that one was really more of like a 90, right? That was a proper corner. The dog leg this
Yeah.
year, I mean the dog leg this year almost looked like it kind of inhibited passing in the shifter stuff because it was easier to get down, right? And you kind of
Yep.
were chopping the nose and you could cut it tight.
Yeah.
But that's a traditional one. Thinking back to Rio, I mean, we're going to go way back, right? In like 2014 when we had that corner again. Was it around, if you could think back that far for both of you guys, Braden and Jake, from racing 2014, 2013, 2012 eras with that start corner that we had? How was that to this year? Was it around identical? Jake, you first.
Yes, it was identical. I think those years, if I remember, it was more open. Just like we were talking about, right where the dog leg was, the track actually started widening more and more and more and more, and it allowed people to take way different optional lines, and it was easier and harder, or it was easier to pass, harder to block. Because if you went all the way down to the inside, well, you have a lot tighter corner than you are mid-track blocking. So this one was a little bit tighter, but it still had the same effect. It was still a great place to pass.
What about you, Braden? Pretty much the same as how it was years before, or like Jake said, did you guys feel it being a little bit tighter?
I think you kind of have to look back to where the straightaway starts, and that really changed it a lot because in X30 we have the rev limiter at 16,000 RPM, and any other time we went into that turn one, it was much more. Well, we didn't have we weren't on the rev limiter, and we were coming off a hairpin, so the gearing was higher as well. Well, I guess the gearing would have been, yeah.
The gearing might have been similar.
Gearing. Yeah,
right.
Similar gearing, but we went on the limiter, and it really seemed like this year it was just kind of. I mean, you knew if you were going to get past like 10 feet after that dog leg onto the straightaway in X30, because like either somebody was there and you were just too late and you said, okay, well, he's just going to get by me, because like it was just, I don't know, it was just one of those, it was a weird dynamic going on where it was like it wasn't worth blocking into turn one because you'd lose so much time, so you'd end up just waving people by, like practically waving people by, just because it would cost you way more to actually try and defend the position. But the actual turn one, I think it definitely was, like Jake was saying, it was more narrow on the way in, but it was also like the curb was a wider arch, whereas like before it was pretty much like as if you had two lanes and you just had one like tiny line going down the middle. So it was just a full on hairpin, so that no matter like if somebody blocked, you could just immediately V it off and get an over under on somebody. So I think that was a little bit different as well.
Yeah, because we saw a fair amount of over-unders, but we also saw a lot of failed attempts on it, both because the straightaway was short to get to that turn two, turn three chicane. But yeah, it seemed like it was a wide sweeping one, which there's always a trade-off, right? Like for starts, especially for the single speed stuff. I mean, I think they were bad, but, we go back to the pre-pushback era. I feel like it was worse. I mean, we go back to that 2014 era, Braden. I mean, that firsthand. I mean, in X30 Junior, you qualified pole and was it 2 heat races you DNF'd and got wrecked on the start of, or one?
Yeah, well, one was on the start, and then one was like second corner, pretty much on the start. But yeah, it was madness back then.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think going off the points that we have, right? Like it's not. I mean, maybe the chicanes themselves with the lower speed going in, not having as much braking, it took away a passing zone for you guys. Jake, didn't seem like it hurt the. I mean, it wasn't a passing zone into 4.5 for X30 really. Every time some guys would do it in like KA. It was really off draft or momentum, and it really bottled them up. They were normally 2x2 coming out of 2 and 3. And I say you guys, obviously you ran K most of the week as well, Jake. I wasn't going to put that on you here on the show because I know it didn't go the way you wanted. But at least, you got to run it both ways here. You're just our shifter rep for the night. But, if they make that little kink, that dog leg, we call it, going into that corner, if that's a little bit wider, a little bit less of a radii, right, coming in, a radius coming in, so it's not as sharp. Then you've got both more space to open the outside barrier up, and you could bring the exit over to still tighten the corner, because if we open up both lanes going in, right, we make it really, really wide going in, but we have that same exit coming out. It felt like the exit out was still kind of narrow this year, even as good of a wide of a corner as it was. So like if they just did the entry to the corner and cleaned that up, where both sides went away from each other and we widened the entry with how narrow the exit was, I think the exit and the single speed stuff would have really suffered, and a lot more guys than what already did would have ended up in the wall. But if they made the dog leg a little bit less aggressive and still just slowly pull them apart, you could widen your exit a little bit by moving that corner over a little. And we're all talking hypothetical, because a lot of the stuff that they had this week, they're working around light poles, right? Like the same thing with the last 2 hairpins. Turn 9 was, I was thinking that might have been a passing zone, and it was sketchy. It looked like in single speed, and there was no way you guys were doing it in shifter at all, because you're already narrow in.
Yeah, we're coming out of that right-hander so fast, we go straight to the apex. And it was first gear. It was first gear corner, so.
Yeah, that too. So you were parking it there, right? Yeah. But, man, I mean, I just, and talking on the shifter deal, right? Like, so there was Elio Meza lost his win in KA Junior for avoidable contact, and I didn't have time today to check with Bo if that was for because it doesn't list it on the results, if that was for the bump and run for the win or if that was something earlier in the race. I think from what I was reading online that it was earlier in the race that he got dinged for, so they were cool with the way that he just kind of moved him up one lane and got around him to the checkered. But then in the shifter main, Hiltbrand just barely first corner when Kayak got the jump on him, kind of moved him up a groove and then got the nose underneath him. And they wanted that to be okay. They wanted you guys in pro to, handle it amongst yourselves. And that's something we've been kind of preaching on this show for a little while. I'm not saying they listen to it, because I love how I want to say really quickly, the Kutcher family has been really, really good to us. Really great. Tom, when we met at SuperNats, on this show, we try to keep things real, and sometimes that ruffles some feathers, but he said, Xander, I hear some things, but I'll be honest, I've never watched your stuff a day in my life, but I hear you do good things. Alexa said you do good stuff, so let's do some. So I don't think him or the crew there watched it too much, and I'm not taking any credit for it, but it's something we've kind of talked about a little bit here of like, all right, you go to senior, and you got this standing guard, especially in X30 at the SuperNats with a lot more veterans, not always during the year. There's a lot more young guns during the year. And then pro shifter is almost all veterans in the top 10, because but there's no junior shifter. So it's taken guys a couple of years to get up to speed, and it's obviously harder to drive on a single lap. So, letting you guys, do a little more on your own to self-police what's okay and what's not, and if you get bump and run out of the way, to go back and give it to the other guy, back and forth. Like, I think that I thought I'm a proponent for it, how it all went down. I wish we would, if we could have, whether it's separate meetings or separate something for that would be cool. But like, if they pulled all you guys, right, Jake, at the beginning of the week and said, look, you guys are pros, like, we're going to give you guys a lot of leeway that we're not going to give to the support classes, to the kids, to the masters, like, I'm cool with that. Where do you think with all that, Jake? Because I think to me that defines pro. Like you, not like I'm saying intentional wrecking or penalties or stuff like that, but you know, there's got to be some line, but give a little more gap to you guys to say no, we can handle it. I mean, what do you think? Do you want more race intervention like how it has been, or would you like something a little more open at the headline stuff?
I mean, I think a little more open. You know, I think we all do respect each other. You know, we may have hard feelings with each other from previous races or whatever it was, but we all do respect each other. It's a really high level. We have a lot of people that help us out with our equipment and stuff, so we don't want to wreck it. We don't want to, you know, potentially wreck people, potentially hurt them, hurt yourself, whatever it is. So I think they can understand that we know the leeway of, hey, you know, we may push this guy a little bit or even side pod the guy or whatever it is, but we're not going to put him in the barrier. We're not going to do anything like that.
Braden, what about you from the X30 side? You know, I mean, it's a little different, but you know, what would be your take on that from a driver deal at this race? Because it's tougher for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really, what's the word here? Not smart drivers in X30 Senior. And unfortunately, I don't really think that they can do that because there's some people that just do not know where the line is of what is too much. And no, I don't think that's we're nowhere clear, nowhere even close to that in X30 Senior, to be honest.
I think if we proved anything too this year in KA, Jake, we're not close to that in KA.
Exactly. That's where I was going from too. Is going from shifter to KA. Yeah, even in X30, and I've never really raced X30 that much, but I'm sure it's not a whole lot different.
Yeah,
but, I mean, it could be a little maturity. I mean, maybe that's just the difference in class.
Well, that and like you said, right? I mean, if you look at, I mean, we got our whole top 10 or top 11 in the pro shifter starting grid was factory supported guys, like you said, like nobody there and in that top 10 from what I believe was footing their own bill 100%. Everybody was at least on a lot of help or fully funded or salaried factory guys, you know. So that's a different, I mean, that's a true pro top of the grid. Now that pro shifter LCQ on the other hand, oh my God! Oh my
That's
God!
More like KA.
I was gonna bring that up.
That was ridiculous. That was terrible.
I don't think you can get away with like the open, like what you're talking about with Jake and leaving it more open. I think that works for the top 20, but you need to go back to like an S1 pro and an S2 semi-pro and restrict because that's what the LCQ was like a semi-pro final, and some of that was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking
really
at
bad.
that, and
some of that was really dangerous. I was actually pretty surprised.
That was unfortunate, right? Like, you know, we know from history that, you know, we can't, without there being a better payback for the pro class, right? Like it doesn't last numbers wise to do a semi-pro and pro because we had by the ending era, Jake, you were racing 15 guys. Like they were all 15 good guys and everybody that win S2 would quit. They'd win, they'd get their pro license to go S1 and like a bunch of them would be like, yeah, I'm done. Like I know I can't beat Jake. I can't beat Danny. Like I beat the guys that halfway know what we're doing at S2 and maybe we have some fast laps, but they wouldn't want to go. And it's, you know, but that's because, right, like they were footing their own bill. If you turn pro and then all of a sudden you have opportunities to go up. So there's some degree, maybe there's some better way. And part of it's the sport growing and these events changing a little bit to get it to that dynamic, but some way to license without discouraging people to go up because it's too hard and still just as expensive. You know, I mean, the same with X30. I mean, it's been, you know, an 88 kart class for years and years and years. And I think there's no question in my mind after seeing how many guys started double dipping by this week. I mean, even the foreigners, right? Like guys that would never double dip to run for more seat time. You know, all year long, it's like the first year X30 guys at the front, like Jeremy Fletcher, Mossman, the rookies, right? They'll run both. And then just kind of out of respect and sometimes because when they turn 18, mom and dad don't want to pay that much money anymore. And they're hoping you get some help or you'll just run your X30. But I mean, dude, Oliver Hodgson in K, Stolzer Manes was, you know, a supported energy guy, 1 KA. Credit to Gilles Terre. Gilles Terre didn't need it. He went out 1 X30, running X30 only. But, you know, KA, if we're honest, it's a great lights platform for the X30 stuff. And if there was a good 80cc option, stock Honda option, then that would kind of naturally deter it. And then you could just make it where you have to pick one or the other and just make the purse way, way higher in the pro class. And it naturally would deter it. Like I think the numbers are close enough that if the series wanted to, which I get it from the series perspective, it's entries, it's a leap of faith that the entries will replace themselves, because if you make a class, if you cut the top off a class, you're betting that the guys that were afraid to show up because they were going to get smoked start showing up again. Like USPKS, we saw it this year. We started at Orlando, full fields, LCQs in both, and by the time we got to Newcastle, we barely had LCQs for KA. I think we started them all in KA at Newcastle, didn't we, Aaron? Didn't we start them all in KA? Yeah.
They weren't planning on it, but they did because they ended up with like only, I think
55 or 50.
Like
yeah. So like, those guys dropped off. There were a lot of guys that missed the show and stopped showing up. And so if you cut out the good guys and you made them just go run X30 if they were going to declare a class like Cup or Xfinity, maybe that's the way. Maybe not automatically boot them up because that didn't work on the S1, S2 days. It did for a while when shifter was massive and S2 was 88 and S1 could fill to 44. But then when the numbers die down, it doesn't. And I don't think we're at that number level yet, as cool as it was to get 88 KZs. But if you had it where we had a lower horsepower, easier to control option that could be a semi-pro class without the same motor, then you would get guys that would want to go run that. And then if you put that in the morning, you would have, maybe some guys try and run both. And then you just got to say, no, you got to run one. I mean, Braden, from your perspective, running X30, you ran X30 only again. That's all you've done since you've been running that in senior. So did you feel like you were at any disadvantage of those guys in the morning running KA?
I did. This was the first time that I would say I thought that I was definitely at a disadvantage not running two classes. And that's just, I think really more than anything, it's just not only do you get more track time, like the first session out, I mean, the guys that are quickest, I mean, I was around the top 10 and easily there's a lot more guys than that were double dipping. But in the first session, I mean, the quickest guys are the people that were in the morning as well. And then they also get to try, twice as much on the chassis. I mean, even if they're not using it, they still have that opportunity. Gearing, you still get an idea. You go out in KA and you're like, okay, well, here's the gearings at. This is what I think it should be for X30. Things like that. I mean, definitely it's an advantage to run both classes. I wish they would, even think about just trying to discourage people from doing both, because it really takes away from, it in a way it's making it so that they're having twice the resources to get the same result,
Yeah. And then this is a good comment here from Jerry Brown. I mean, we've been preaching this, right? American karting as a whole doesn't take care of its champions. Watch 90% of them leave. Top 3 driver in a pro class should not be dropping 10K a weekend ever. I mean, that's how do we fix that, right? That's the problem that we're working on. I'd love to say we could fix. I don't have TV money yet, so I'm not able to add a kart chase draw to the purse. I can't make it where we could show up for free even just yet. We're trying. I mean, we're early, but I've told a lot of people that, we're trying to make it where you can keep doing it. But, luckily for you two guys, it's been possible to be able to keep coming back. But, if you had to drop 10K a weekend, Jake, you would have been out the sport probably 5-7 years ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Long gone. So we need that, right? We need it to be where, we sell more go-karts based on what wins. And I mean, the eyeballs on this weekend were great. Again, we had 40,000 total views on Sunday. We peaked at around 3,000 on the Any Minute viewership. The unique viewer numbers come in next week once YouTube processes them and Facebook processes them. Normally that's about a quarter to a third. So that would be anywhere from 10 to 15,000 eyeballs live. And then, from an impressions point of view, we had 5 to 10 million impressions on the race. So that's a start, right? And where eyeballs come, the money should eventually follow. And that's a lot of what our job is going to be, is trying to, not only we're going to offer obviously all the advertising. A lot of our advertisers this week were internal karting people, and a huge thank you to everyone that did and has all year. The sponsors on this show, right? I mean, we can't do this show and I can't put all this together without all the help that we have. But we need to continue to pound the pavement on that to make that possible for that stuff to happen, right? For at the very, very top, for that to make sense, and that comes down to eyeballs and again, trying to make it where the purse comes back to that. The racers aren't having to foot the entire bill directly from them or even from the support. So from Luigi there, big question: which was the biggest view on Kart Chaser? You'll like this, Jake. Pro Shifter was the peak.
Nice.
Pro Shifter peaked out on the highest number of views. X30 Senior was close. But it was beat. Pro Shifter, highest total viewership on where it peaked. It was, I think, at 2,850 or 2,900 live viewers. And to put everyone in perspective of where that's at, you can see a lot of those numbers on the Road to Indy streams, average 300 to 700 for a lot of those guys on USF Pro Championships. Indy Lights, when it was live, was in the low thousands. IndyCar, when it was on Peacock for the Honda Indy Toronto, or no, not Honda Indy Toronto, for the first race of the year, they released the Peacock numbers. They didn't release them from Toronto, but from St. Petersburg, from St. Petersburg, the any minute peak was 20,000. So to be at 3,000 for our first time, no added money. I mean, I didn't run additional ads. I didn't have the money to. I mean, we spent everything that we could, and SKUSA gave everything that they could, which was triple our budget together, and more sponsored hours that we had all year long. Obviously, the biggest views we ever had. By far, most days peak at around 10,000. Even Miami Grands this year was around, I think, 10,000 to 12,000 a day, which is still really, really strong. I mean, that's bigger than karting streams have ever been in the States. The World Championships is right around that 30K number I looked at when it was live, and around that 2,500 to 3K viewership range for the KZ Worlds and OK Worlds. But that's a global audience, right? And we do have somewhat of a global audience at SuperNats, but not to the level and build up that the FIA has for years and years and years. And they even got it on, I think, is it Eurosport that's still around? They had it on something on TV this year. Aaron, I think we talked about it, but I don't remember the name of the TV company. Maybe it was Motors TV that did it.
That one sounds right. I can't remember for sure.
Eurosport did it in the 90s. I don't know if it's still around anymore, but there was one TV company that put it on TV for the KZ and KZ2 finals this year, which was the first time in a long time that they had it back on TV for the FIA Worlds. But, Pro Shifter, highest rated one, which was cool. So, hey, man, I've said it on here before that I was always a little bit timid when we started this, that we had 10 to 12 guys in that Pro Shifter class and we were getting strung out races. And I'm like, look, if we're the same level of entertainment as a car race, we'll lose on the sexy factor. But hey, we had a guy lead from almost start to finish, and we still had really good viewership. So that's saying something. People are still down to watch gearbox racing. So that's cool. Now let's talk about it. Tire wear, man. Was that wild this week, Jake? That I don't think that was on anyone's radar. Was it on yours?
No, not at all. And mainly because from previous years, we never really had an issue with it. I mean, the tires get worn out, but the biggest thing was feathering. And it usually only really happened that night when the sun went down and the lights came on. That's when we saw the worst, at least in the shifter stuff. And I think some of the single speed was the same way.
Yeah. Braden, same thing for you, right? Heavy tire feathering, ripped apart by the end of the main, right?
Yes. For some reason, I don't know whether it's the way I was driving or my chassis, but I seem to have probably top 2 tire wear in the field. So I didn't really see a whole lot, but I think we did a lot on the chassis to help that. And I knew that going into the final, it was going to be like that. I mean, even in the warm-up on Sunday, everyone went out with new tires. And, my tires looked pretty good at the end of it. And then I would say most of the people's tires I looked at were just destroyed after 7 minutes of warm-up in the morning. And that's on a cold track, where there should be less tire dig. So I knew it was going to be a big thing going into the final, and I don't really know what the cause of it is because, that surface has always really been pretty good as far as I remember. And when they used to run real rubber, the old MGs back before, I don't remember when they changed it. If it was 2020, 2019, whatever. But the real rubber that they used to run never used to have this issue.
Let me see if I can.
Braden, can I throw up a picture of your tire, your left rear? Can I throw it up? I got a picture of it from
You have it? I didn't know you have it. I was going to try to see if I could pull it up. All right, well, there we go. Jake, this is actually a good question here. Yeah, so there's a look at yours.
That's Braden's tire from the final.
Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
That's actually really good. That's probably one of the better ones I've seen.
Yeah,
that's like Dave Sarah's.
It was one of the better ones.
You should pull up Dave Sarah's. Do we have that picture?
I don't know.
I don't have Dave's. I only got yours. But yeah, you can see on the inside for Wolden Racing there. You can see on the inside that right side, the top side on the photo. That's the feathering that we're talking about, and you can actually see in the middle it's starting to delaminate a little bit as well. And that's something we usually never see in Vegas. I think there was a little bit of it last year because of the different surface that I had to guess. But this is like completely new to everybody that was out here. In terms of like what we were expecting coming in.
It had to be something with the tires because I don't think the asphalt I don't think it really changed. I think it sat vacant for 3 years or 2 years. I don't know if that had something to do with it. Cars weren't on it. It may be more abrasive. When I walked the track, it definitely looked more abrasive. But I don't know. It was really weird.
I have to say, with everything, carrying over, it's not uncommon for people to have quality control issues at this moment in time. Even going back to summer, or I guess it was USPKS at Newcastle, I had 4 sets of MG tires that were all
those Dave's.
I don't know if that was Dave's. Was that Dave? That's
Dave's livery right there.
That looks like a shifter cart tire.
Yeah. So that was Dave and Masters, right? Because the X30 Masters main that Thomas Grice, who won, waited the whole main, banking on tire wear. And by the end of the race, he was 5 to 7 tenths a lap quicker than the 2 leaders that were out front. Power, and I don't remember who was the other guy that was up there. Maybe it was Foster or someone else. I was down getting ready for Pro Shifter intros, but I know talking to Ben Cooper and to Will Power that they were like, dude, like our stuff was done those last 5 to 10 laps, and then everybody watched it coming in. And then, again, Jake, in your case, right? Like, you could see how you on the broadcast, you were a drift cart from about lap 14 on with the rear end just coming around, Here, let me pull that picture up. You can kind of describe here a little more on feathering, what you mean.
Yeah, what's crazy for us, especially in the shifter stuff, under braking, it's a lot harsher on the tire, or obviously a lot heavier, and also trying to put the power down coming out of the corner. You got to really roll the throttle and be easy on it. Make sure the cart's straight and you're not still turning while you're trying to get on the throttle. But what's weird with us is we saw the outside of the tire actually wear more than the inside, which I had never seen before in the 20 years I've been karting. So that was also really bizarre.
Gotcha. So, yeah, that was huge. And again, like Braden said, this is, the MG tire guys were there taking pictures, of everything through the week. And, we're still, as cool as it was to get the international guys back, we're still absolutely feeling the effects of COVID-19. Even, I saw one guy make a really good point on social media earlier this week that obviously there's still the conflict going on between Russia and Ukraine. And that's making it really tough. You take 2 countries out of the international market from raw materials. I think Ukraine exports a lot of raw materials. So that can go into anything from chassis manufacturing to parts manufacturing to tires. And, that still might affect the South American market. One thing that's a really unknown fact about MG, right? So MG tires, Brazilian manufacturer, go-kart manufacturer only. They don't let anyone go see their factory. They're very exclusive about their trade secrets on their tires. Anyone. They would obviously never let me, right, as a media guy, but they don't let anyone go in there to see it. And we've seen it on the short track scene for the oval guys, the late model guys, all the time having tire issues, from Hoosier, which is an American tire, to anyone else, getting material to make them. So it's not something that, as much as people want to rag on SKUSA, right, because they've been king of the hill for so long, you get a target on your back that anything that goes wrong, it's SKUSA. It's SKUSA's tire imported, but Like it's still an awkward time in the world from a manufacturing standpoint. I mean, there were many guys this year that struggled to get material for go-karts, and it had both people switching brands, and I mean, Briggs has suffered it tremendously. We talked about it on this show with Dan Schlosser. He came on here and was talking about how they were able to get engines. We've had other people come on here and talk about how there's still major delays and a struggle to get pieces. And that's an American company where just about everything is made here stateside, and it's still such a supply chain issue in the world that everyone's feeling it. So it's tough. But it's not like it was. I mean, again, from the outside, we've never seen tire wear like that in a race. So I wasn't driving, but that was cool. Like seeing guys fall off at a 25 lap main. Like I remember we were talking about, interview questions all the time throughout the year of how to talk to guys and what kind of questions to get the right answers out of drivers and to get what's going on. I mean, strategy is not a good question because there's no strategy in a race. You try to get the whole shot, you try and survive the start, you try and go forward. It's a sprint. Now, you're not saving, but here there was some strategy for some guys that it won an X30 Masters guy the main Grice. So that was cool from a fan perspective. I'm sure it was not too fun to be behind the wheel hanging onto that thing for 10 laps though, Jake.
Yeah, it was pretty difficult.
Yeah, so tire wear, big deal there. And then we go to Aaron, this was your question, right? So how do you want to phrase about the pro shifter? Well, we'll get to the engine failures in a minute, but the pro shifter, the main, the red flag, Aaron, what you got for that?
Oh yeah, so I actually ran into Danny after the race day was over. We were getting Smashburger, and he came by and whatnot, and he was saying that. Well, I mean, I was just kind of asking him about it and stuff like that. And he thought it was a full restart because you guys had mentioned like that it might be a full restart. And it was. What did you guys think, Jake, especially because you were in the race, about the decision to? It wasn't a full restart, and Danny and Kyle couldn't come back in because they had already left the racing surface. There's no rule in the rule book about designating like a full restart. It is only before halfway or after halfway. And I think there's kind of just been a general consensus that if you get a red flag at like the end of lap 1, start of lap 2, then you'll do a full restart. But there's nothing that I found explicitly in the rule book stating that if it's a full restart, you can reset your bumpers, you can go and fix your go-kart, you can do all that. I didn't see anything in there. But what were your thoughts on it? Because I was hoping to see them both get back.
Unfortunately, we've had red flags and shifted before, whether it's with Rock or SKUSA in Vegas. And I do remember one time, it was before the completion of the first lap, they actually called everybody back in to the scales, and you can do whatever you wanted to your go-kart. You were free to work on it. The guys that crashed, they can fix their go-karts. It was a complete restart. We regridded up where we were supposed to start, and we went on with the whole with the main from lap 0. We got told right when the red flag came out that it was a complete restart. That is the first thing we heard when we stopped. I think that quickly became word of the people. That's why we were able to go talk to our mechanics or change our visors or whatever it was. So because we were only allowed to sit on the barrier, couldn't touch the carts. They said it's a complete restart. We walked to our mechanics. Well, I'm sure somebody in that mechanic crowd told Danny and Wick saying, hey, it's a complete restart. That usually means you can work on your carts. The controversy is that all of us that were there on track there was no way we could work on our carts. We couldn't get them back in. They wanted us to stay there. So it was a little weird ordeal, but not probably 5 minutes later, they said, y'all have completed 1 lap. It is not a complete restart. We're going to do a rolling start, and you're going to start where you were after that 1 completion of lap. So that meant obviously Danny and Wick could not come back on track.
Yeah. Did they actually line people up after the red flag? Because there was 2 or 3 guys that just, with no regard, just like went and passed a bunch of people, and I never saw anyone regrid anyone before the start.
They lined us up. They pulled us up to where the finish line was and put us in order.
Okay.
They had a couple guys that failed to get running as they were getting going, so you probably saw the guys that didn't get fired up right away go back to where they were supposed to be gridded up and just didn't get running.
That goes on like the commitment line stuff, right? Like I mean, we saw that in a bunch of races both ways where someone was laid off the grid. And so SKUSA's policy, and I think Rock has it too. Am I right about that, Jake? Does Rock have commitment cones and formation cones?
Yes.
I
Yes.
think they do. USPKS has them. I don't remember if it's penalized, but I know that I think it is, and I know that Stars does as well. That they have a commitment line and a formation line. So commitment line comes before the formation line. Commitment line is usually about 3 to 4 turns before the formation line. Formation line is usually about 2 turns before the start. And so the commitment line, that's when you have to be as high up or as far back as you're supposed to be, whether or not that was where you were originally slated to start. So if you get a false start and it goes around, then you've got that first half of the lap to get back into the position you're supposed to be. However, if it's not a false start and you advance your position after the commitment line, even if it's to be where you're supposed to be, you get a penalty. So that happened to a lot of guys in a lot of races where they were sluggish off the grid or they spun on the outlap, or in the case of what Aaron was saying, right, they were slow to bump start themselves. And everyone in Pro Shifter, no one's getting help. Everyone, it's pro class, so everyone was trying to bump start themselves. And I know Hannah Greenemeyer stuck out because she was the one that I think was the first one of the dominoes to fall in the middle of the grid that struggled to bump start herself and had to do it a second time and probably lost a bunch of spots that way. And you're racing, you're trying to get up. And then in the single speed stuff, same thing. A couple guys spin or laid off the grid, trying to hustle, and then you're weighing out the penalty because the penalty is typically 10 seconds per the SKUSA rulebook for advancing your position after the commitment line. So you're like, well, I'm set to start top 10. I could start 40th and not get a 10-second penalty and bet on myself to come back forward. Or I'm going to be like, I will net better by advancing my position after and then taking the 10-second penalty. And then it goes like, that's how it is right now. Should it be a harsher penalty for advancing after the commitment line? Because then if it is, then it would deter guys for doing it anyway. And the whole reason is to just, again, keep confusion away from the starts and not mess up the guys that did get off nicely and whatever. Because, I mean, it happened in a lot. It happened in a lot of heat races. KA and Cadet stand out to me a ton that it was a front runner that late start, spin, whatever, especially in the morning when it was cold and it was early in the week before the rubber that, guys advanced after the commitment line, but they netted better because the field spread out. It was tough to pass. And I mean, you lose 2 to 3 tenths to pass minimum, assuming you just straightly go forward and don't go backwards, don't have to defend, don't have to do anything. So you multiply that by 30, right? And all of a sudden, 30 times 3 tenths, and it nets out damn near 10 seconds on the penalty, if not worse. And that's best case scenario. So that's what we saw. But I did see them grid at least all you guys on the front. I think it was a little bit wishy-washy at the last 10 or so, but it looked like they had you guys just about in order for it. So yeah, it was, again, going back on the TV thing, it was great TV for us. We got the cameras on it. I mean, hell, man, credit all in the world. I have never seen an engine change on a KZ.
That was pretty impressive.
5 minutes.
I think they should have gotten in just off of that. I mean, you change an engine change in 10 minutes. Like, you deserved your way back onto the track. And Danny's walking a full
KZ for that matter. I mean, there's a lot. That goes
not even just like a KA with nothing attached to it. Just on and off. I can do a KA engine change in 10 minutes. I couldn't get a KZ done in an hour.
Yeah, that was unreal. So shout out to Gary Carlton, Sonny Cervelli, and the whole crew at the GFC camp. I mean, you guys are awesome, and I hate it for them, and again, like that was just a Hail Mary, right? Because like you said, heard complete restart, and I don't even know if they heard it or if it was over us because we didn't know, but it was crazy. So it was just wild to see that. So kudos to those guys. Unfortunate for the way it went. Once it goes obviously one lap down, nothing's gonna happen. But was wild. So what else do we had? You had more on the cart cap thing. Aaron, I mean, you had thoughts on opening the cap up past 88. I mean, that's when we'd be spending a lot of days at the track to run more heats unless you're cutting guys after quality to do more than 88. I don't think you can. Yeah,
I don't think. I was just wondering because we are at the point this year where every class was at its cap. Like I said, Shifter Master was the lowest at 42. I mean, there's an opportunity there to, if you plan it out properly, get most of the classes at least full 88 cart grid and an LCQ. I don't know whether you draw enough numbers to justify it, But how would we feel about lengthening the days a little bit and trying to get that done? Because you would be adding another probably 4 or 5 sessions for every day or every heat or qualifying you have to do. You'd be spreading out a lot more time there.
I don't know how you would have to run those heats, or if you would not. You may not even be able to run a full round robin, because if you add a 5th group, credit from John Warren. They did 96 one year in X30, but it was still the same format that year. We're talking 2017, Braden. It was still just the normal 3 heats, and you just had big heats, right? That was at the Westgate.
I remember. Yeah, I remember actually one year I thought they tried to open it up to 120. Well, I don't think they got it, and then they ended up closing it back down to 88.
Yeah,
Can't remember which year that was.
I think what we said earlier, though, like if we're hitting 88 in all of them and we got a wait list, then there's no reason to start cutting down on double duty. I mean, just do that. You know, that's the first gateway. I'd much rather see that. I'd much rather see if Pro Shifter sells out really quickly to 88 next year, then, you know, we find a way to, whether it's a semi-pro shifter. I'm not a big proponent of the same motor. I mean, there's nothing out there right now for an 80. There's guys that are doing some R&D on the West Coast that are doing some cool things. I think Jason LaPointe with the Track Magic Group has some, but it's not out there yet. That would be better for them. But for the single speed guys, 100%. If we sell out X30 and we sell out KA, then they need to, or ahead of time, knowing that they will. Then let's cut the double duty stuff out, because there's so much of it that, like Braden said, I mean, this year it did seem like it benefited some guys that more than others. I mean, Stolzer-Manis was 2nd and 1st. Hodgson would have been top 3, you know, and not that those guys wouldn't. I mean, those are phenomenal racing drivers. But it definitely, you know,
well, there'd be drivers further back that gain an advantage from running KA or X30, like transferring between the two. You might not see a difference between, like, is it Stolzerman or Hodgson or anything like that, but you'd see the guys that are sitting in 15th would definitely pick up and probably run better than that. I remember talking to somebody, we were heading down to IME Grands, and they were saying that, you know, it's the same thing. You've got all of the front running X30 drivers in junior in KA. You've got a lot of X30 drivers in KA senior as well. And with the prize packages that are going out there, we were saying, and this is something that's a little more open for you guys, but like, you got the ticket to France for winning X30 and winning senior and junior. Like for KA, you didn't get that, but it'd be cool to see, you know, as we're talking about trying to promote drivers and promote the talent to move them up, seeing, you know, you can only run X30 or KA. And then if you win the KA IME Grand Nationals, you get, you know, part of the season entry for X30 and a motor or something
100%.
Like that. But starting to limit more of the drivers doing double duty and promoting the good drivers to the top and the amateur drivers, the less experienced drivers, give them an opportunity to show themselves better and find that opportunity to move up.
Yeah, I mean, that would do it, right? We talked about that on the show too, like scholarship stuff. Imagine for Jake and Braden, you guys coming up, winning in junior, you know, in the lights classes, and then getting the scholarship money to go. I mean, Braden, you benefited directly on that model on the road to Indy, right? That made it that much easier for you to get into that USF or Indy Pro 2000 ride the first year because you had the USF money. You know, if there was something like that, we talk about trying to take care of champions and keep them around in the sport and get guys on that path to getting sponsored rides. But obviously, sponsored rides need to make sense. That's my job. I got to get eyeballs. I got to get sponsor money and help these events out. But you know, when you come out of KA, it's not like, you know, any team's coming to you because Alex Stanfield dominated KA this year that he's going to have an X30 ride next year, you know, but he should, right? I mean, in theory, like you go and you win that class, especially against the X30 guys, there should be a launching pad to get them up. I mean, that would be cool. I mean, I you know, again, Jake, you would have never been able to even put yourself in an F4 race car had it not been for that Honda scholarship, right? I mean, that was what got you there.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, so scholarship stuff to get guys up. And while IME Factory gives those tickets, so it's not like those would ever go away. You know, it doesn't seem like there's this extra push as much as there was maybe 5-10 years ago for guys to go overseas to race, because our racing here has become more competitive in a way, at least running similar platforms than in the late 2000s, early 2010s. That you don't see guys like hyped up to go to those races. If they were, then the Rotax Nationals would have been way bigger, and more people would have gone to the IME Worlds or tried to go even on their own dollar. But there's a lot of good competition here. You can say stateside, not deal with all that. And if we had a way to kind of keep our own ladder healthy, you know, going up, that would have been cool. So we'll take that and go to a quick commercial break and wrap up. We got a few more passes we want to get, a couple more questions you guys can ask. So go ahead and send that stuff on in. We'll hit them right after the break and wrap up tonight's show. A little bit longer than our normal shows have been, but there was so much out of SuperNationals 25 to catch up on. So stick with us, guys. We'll be right back here after this commercial break.
Line has steadily made progress since its inception in October 2021. On top of servicing the Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana areas with products from Compkart chassis, Tillotson carts and engines, Miami, Briggs, Honda, and more, they're now promoting race events as well throughout the mid and coastal South region at NOLA Motorsports Park and Finish Line Performance Karting in Biloxi, Mississippi. Races are already set for the fall of 2022. September 3rd, October 22nd, and November 12th at NOLA Motorsports Park, and 2 dates, September 10th and October 15th at Finish Line Performance Karting. Driver Line is set to finish this year strong.
As the Western importer of the Praga and Formula K chassis brands, Leading Edge Motorsports is a high-performance kart shop and race team with a simple mission: teach others the joy of high-performance driving, supply our customers with the highest quality products and services, and most of all, win races. With our remarkable racing inventory, expert services, and top-ranked national-level team to back it up, we'll help to get your new kart racing package up and running fast. From arrive and drive service to kart preparation and driver coaching to the parts you need to get you back on the racetrack, Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer.
From 4-stroke to 100cc to 125cc and beyond, Technokart USA has a winning option for you. Based out of Des Plaines, Illinois, Technokart USA offers both chassis designed to win in all divisions of North American karting and a top-level race support program at the U.S. Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, select Cup Karts North America races, and both
one of the top
SKUSA SuperNationals. Podiums, wins, and championships are waiting for you whenever you're ready to get on a Technokart. For more information, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/TechnokartUSA.
All right, so welcome back, everybody, here after the commercial break. Got some more questions coming on in. I know we have a lot of viewers on here tonight, more than our normal shows. It'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the pipe deal with Norberg and RPG. And I did as much research as we could, but here's the facts to everybody to lay out, right? Like, DQs happen in the sport. No one's immune to it. It's happened to everybody. Or just about everybody if you race long enough. Little things will catch you out. It could be something as little as the rear track being too wide, being underweight, engine stuff. And in this case, I wanted to cover it for everybody here because obviously this is the team, the powerhouse team that has dominated the scene all year long. Ryan knows that. He's talked about it on the show to the point that they're wrecking these guys at the starts of races to shuffle them back because they have so much speed. Let's go over what we do know. What we do know here is the SKUSA made an update and a rulebook change in October, right before the event. Now, this is the second year in a row because Aspen Fuel was the introduction this year that started at SuperNats 24. It was a last-second upgrade with about a month to go. This second change tightened the tolerances on the minimum and the maximum point exhaust pipe length, which was something that was not a big deal in before the X30 upgrade when you had flex with the pipes. So the flex it basically made the pipe a three-piece pipe. You had your header that came out of the engine, you had a single long exhaust piece, and you had a piece of metal that you could cut down or put longer within certain specs to ultimately make that pipe naturally a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. And the difference is there, a longer pipe is going to give you more bottom end off the corner. A shorter pipe will give you a little more top end speed. And so if your engine, just the way that the power band was, because every engine, as close as they are, as great as they are off the production line, which has always been, with the IAME guys through the years, relatively really, really good. And the spec classes, I mean, there's a lot of emphasis on it for Briggs, the K8, X30 to Swift to try and make them as good as possible. It's a fight they'll never win, because you'll never be perfect. But you could, for the little differences you had, if you had a motor that was a little better bottom end, then you typically would run a little bit shorter flex. I know personally in my last season in 2019, I was running a BBS engine power with DCT Speed Sport, and I podiumed in Ocala because we had unbelievable bottom end power. And that same engine did the rest of the year and went to the higher speed tracks. I struggled a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming engine. That's an easy thing for any driver to do. I could have driven way better. As a funny point from that weekend, Braden was there on my podium run. And Braden, I know you know what I'm talking about here. This funny story, that weekend, I was fifth after the pre-final. And I was thinking of making a gear change or something. And you came over to me. And do you remember exactly what you said, Braden?
I don't remember anything from that.
Oh
to
my
be
God.
honest.
See, man, you're killing me. It means a lot to me. All right. So Braden was tuning in the class that came after mine. He was tuning in Mini. I was racing X30. So he saw me every time on track. He came over to my pit and he said, Xander, I was like, what are you doing? I was like, I think I need this. Right. He's like, Xander, right now, would Austin Garrison win in your go kart? And I was like, yes, he would. He would go out and he'd dominate. Right. I think I've got a better go kart than he does right now. He's like, then why are you changing anything? And I didn't change anything. And I went out and I finished third, fastest lap by like a couple thousandths. If I drove a little better in the first few laps and wasn't racing 3 times a year, I might have actually been able to go up and fight him. Or I got by him, but fight Josh Green and Zach Hollings who won the race. But point being, back then wasn't a pipe issue. Now we're running single piece pipes. So off the production line, there's a natural tolerance that IAME Global gives, and we've been running in the U.S. for a long time. We've talked about it on the show that because of that, just like in spec racing, if you can't do anything to adjust off of the natural millimeter tolerance differences off the production line, then the guys that can win are the guys with more resources that can buy an array of motors and pick the distance that they want. And so credit to SKUSA for wanting to try and, implement a tighter tolerance rule and tighten that deal up. And that's just unfortunately what caught Ryan Norberg and RPG and AVP out. But this, talking to some of the engine builders throughout it, not everybody was sold that the shorter pipes that people had were really that much better. Mike Speed, I went and asked him about it at the end of the day with Speed Lab engines, and he didn't think it was any. He said he didn't even like them. So I don't know how much of a performance difference it is. No one knows because you can't do back-to-back testing on it anyway. Obviously, the guy was super fast, fastest kart at the end of the race. Kudos to him there. But this was a 2 millimeter, 1 to 2, maybe 3, because they only shortened it up from, I think, plus or minus 5 to plus or minus a couple. But it caught them out. And what was unfortunate about the whole deal is this was a rule change that came right into this event. And similar to how some of the stuff has been pushed out, it's not like everybody knows. There wasn't a big meeting that says it. You update the rule book. It's RPG and AVP's responsibility to know that. And Alex said he just missed it. So, this show, guys, I want to keep it real with you. This is the facts that we know. There's rumors that swirl all around. There's no doubt. People saying all kinds of crazy stuff when stuff like this happens. And when a team dominates, as Ryan, had talked to me months before, is like, dude, we're Mercedes. Like, people want us to fail, want us to lose, want us to get caught, want us to that. Like, they know that target's on their back. And they know this week that they're going to catch a lot of flack for it. And everybody's blowing up on social media. And what I want to say to all that, to everybody is, again, I'm not an engine guy. I've never claimed to be, and I say that on every single show here. What we're trying to do from Car Chaser's perspective, from happy hour, from the broadcast to everything, is to build this stuff up. And tearing a team down and a guy that, every team is a 7-day-a-week gig. Jake, you can even attest to this with you and your dad running a local shop team. I mean, this is a 7-day-a-week job as a business owner that is never ending, right? I mean, this is one of the hardest industries to make any kind of money in. If we weren't if it was easy, we wouldn't be talking about you retiring right now. You would have a full-time 6-figure gig to race. And Braden was the same thing. Braden would have had 6-figure opportunities to race X30, but it's not. All right. This is so hard to do. And in terms of, squish, right? I mean, that can pop a lot of guys. Caught DeTulio by just a touch out at Homestead, cost him a win, cost Marian Kremers a podium at Road America, cost Will Power a second place, unfortunately. I mean, this is millimeter stuff. So, again, for everyone that's on social media right now, going out and tearing them down, like, yeah, we can be public about it, right? Like, we can be public that, yes, their pipe was out of tolerance. And it was off of the new rule that came out in October that caught people out. And who knows how many other guys in the field would have been caught out by it, not even knowing, because we only checked the top 5 race, finishers at the end of the day, right? We only scaled evidently the top 10. So, we only checked tires on the top 10. And that's an argument for another day. But great comment here, right? Walk the line, pay the price. Fair enough. They know that. They lost the winnings. They lost the podium. And you'll get the social media flack on it. But at least from us, I get pulled all kinds of different directions. And I don't want to lose the reality of this show, but the reality is that, we need everyone in the sport to work together. And and me going out here and just saying the worst things possible off of the rumors that I hear, it doesn't build anything and it doesn't help anything. So that's what the facts are. Rulebook change came out in October that we know that did tighten the tolerances. There's been no race since. Now, I guarantee with that, I mean, this is the second, if not the third SuperNats in a row where we've had kind of a change, a major change on the engine side, where leading into the event, right? So I bet every major guy is going to be reading that rule book cover to cover for SuperNats 26. I mean, Jake, right, for SuperNats 24 with the Aspen Fuel debut, everyone seemed like they were struggling for power to get the carburation around on the KZs, right?
Oh, yeah. It was way different.
Yeah.
And it's super sensitive, too, so it was weird.
And it was still a process this week. A lot of guys losing engines, trying to figure it out. I mean, from the Aspen Fuel side, talking with Tom Kutcher earlier in the week, right, that everyone knows California is going to be the first state to ban what we do or try to from the combustion engines. They're trying to get to clean fuels that will get ahead of that curve so we're ready for when that legislation comes through, because we don't have lobbyists. Karting doesn't have any lobbyists in Washington or in any of the states, so we can't go and get that stuff to do what we want to let us race. So we've got to kind of do what we can to work around it. And there's unfortunately going to be hardships with that. Again, a lot of guys blowing up motors. Wick seized his. Musgrave had a one go. Guys that have been in it for a long time building engines that know how to build really good engines and are still figuring this stuff out. So point being, what this DQ was, you run the line, they got caught, but in this case, it was a little bit of just, again, just missing it. But they admit it. Look,
or so they say. Or so
Braden,
they say.
No. See, here we go again. You can fight. I look.
The tolerance fits all of the legal pipes, and the only one that was illegal was Ryan Norbert's.
Only the top 5 were checked. There were
other top 5s. Every single one of them had brand new pipes. I guarantee you, all of them had brand new pipes. Anyone that comes to SuperNats has brand new pipe.
Okay,
why was only one of them illegal?
Hey, here's one thing I will say.
It was a 10 mil window. Dude, 10 mil window. All those pipes come within 2 mil.
Rock has the same thing, and Shifter. We have that same rule, and we have found brand new pipes that we cannot run because they're illegal.
Yes, and to Braden, to your point there, to build off what Jake said, SKUSA was doing courtesy checks early in the week, and a lot of pipes got confiscated. A lot of pipes. A lot of people that did not go through top 5 that all of a sudden were out of compliance. Perfectly fine pipes, right? Like in Jake's case, right? I mean, those are pipes that aren't legal, but you could use them to break in a motor, right? I mean, they're great practice pipes.
Practice, whatever, yeah.
So, there is a difference. They're trying to do the right thing to tighten the tolerance up. The rule books are, the rule book change happened, and they admit that they were caught out by it, and they just should have. But I mean, if there's any team that's got to be on top of it, that they know that they got a target on their back, that everybody thinks they're cheating because they've been so dominant. It's RPG in the X30 stuff. It was, there's. The rules are what they are. Everybody knows that going in. This was just a deal of someone getting caught out by them and the rule change going in, because this pipe is legal until October 2022, and a lot of other X30 pipes in that same boat. So you should measure them, but if you measure them and you thought you were good because it's the tolerance you thought you were at all year, right? That's more of what, to me, this deal screams, right? Not that they were playing with fire on it. You can think what you want, but that's where it is, and everyone's gonna have their opinions. Everyone can go what they want, and then from question for Becky here, what's the procedure in notifying drivers of the new rules? In this case, this was an update posted to the website, but again, like, it wasn't pushed out. At least with the Aspen fuel, that's a bigger change versus everyone showing up to SuperNats and being like, "What is this fuel that we're putting in? We're not putting in our VP," right? That was a post that came out, but even still, I mean, like a month out, it was tough to make those changes. So they are what they are, and like I said, I think now more than ever, it seems they're probably going to go into this race and go into the end of the year with the gap month that we have, and they're okay. We're building 1 million go-karts to get ready for this event, but we need to probably set a couple test weekends to get ready for a change that could happen in October, because they can happen anytime, and we normally don't. I mean, we test a little bit. Jake, what about you? How much did you do a whole lot of on-track stuff in leading up to Rock? Obviously, you didn't do anything in between the two, but is there a lot of testing for you guys going before?
In the previous years, absolutely, we did a lot of testing. This last year was me honestly just driving to get back into shape, as I haven't been driving that much. We didn't really do much testing, to be honest. But in the previous years, yes, we did a lot.
Yes. So, and here's a good point from Burpo Racing. They had to replace an unmodified pipe for K that's now illegal. That stuff happens in racing. Stuff gets caught out. This just the rule caught them out, right?
Yeah,
but there have been pipe changes, this change now puts some pipes out of that legal range, which we've been calling for it. The industry's been saying, like, look, we have these tolerances and we can't do anything to make them better besides buy more and find what we want. So if you tighten that tolerance, in theory, the amount of stuff you're buying is going to go down. And now, you go to your dealer when you buy the pipe and you measure it. And I'm sure every dealer is going to be checking them now with the new rule change and this whole story coming out, that they're going to go, okay, I can't sell this to a customer because now it's not legal. So I need a different one.
So I do want to clarify. We had one comment here asking 10 millimeter when you had mentioned that. That is when you get a specification from Miami, it says you can be this length, and it'll say plus or minus a number. So plus or minus 5 millimeters is 5 millimeters longer or shorter than the overall length of the pipe, which is what got caught in X30 Senior. So 10 millimeters is just that you have a range of 10 millimeters, 5 millimeters on each side of the minimum measurement. They changed that to 3, so now it's a range of 6 millimeters. They're just tightening it up, trying to make sure that things are as close as possible overall for all the drivers out there.
And again, the reason why I'm going about this, guys, the way that we are on the show right now, to kind of give clarity on it, is
he doesn't want to lose a sponsor, guys.
No. Let me make clear on that. Raleigh's not a sponsor on this show. They did a deal for this year, but every sponsor that we do signs up knowingly. I'm straight up with every single one. It does not limit us in any way. It absolutely does not. But there's a responsibility on this show. We have a spotlight that has never been seen before on this sport, where people from all around the world, and especially around the country, that maybe never paid attention and were never Braden Eves fans or haters, and were never Jake French fans or haters before, and now are, that don't personally know you guys and know what's going on. This stuff's happened in the sport. People getting DQ'd, whatever. I mean, there were guys that got, DQ'd at Miami Grands, right? There was multiple KA guys that got DQ'd on Friday night for stuff there. So this is a common thing in the sport. How do we go about it moving forward, right? I mean, F1 and NASCAR and all, and they post press releases every single time. So you kind of get numb to that as a fan, knowing that, everyone's pushing the limits, right? If I just post this DQ and then everybody crucifies them, that's not good. There's a weight that comes with this now that we didn't have when we started the show, right, Braden? And yes, out of tolerance, DQ'd. They know that. That's
illegal.
Public. That's out there. Illegal.
For the guys in the back, illegal.
Guys in the back, illegal. You don't know if they were illegal. They weren't checked, right?
No. I'm saying for all the guys in the back to hear, RPG, Ryan Norbert, illegal.
Shut up. Braden, I'm serious. This is not the stuff that this spotlight that we have, this platform that we have, right? To crucify them now and not do it to a team 3 years ago is unfair, right? They should feel it, and they will, and they know, right? And they have admitted that. They know that, right? But, like, you race. Look, I mean it. Like,
yeah, fair enough.
Like, this stuff happened before, so it's important to lay out every fact. You can make your opinions after you know everything that's going on. All that we know is that they were out of tolerance. A rule change came out in October, and not a lot of people knew that it was coming. And a lot of people got courtesy checks, got their pipes confiscated. And again, pipes that were new that are now illegal. So it is what it is. It was a DQ and it's out there, but I don't want to just burn the spotlight that we have because we don't handle it well and we stir up more bad than good. And that's important. That's important about this entire thing. All right. Like, you can get mad if you want, but there's people that are watching now that weren't watching before that don't understand. So it's important to understand everything that's going on in as center of a way as possible. It's pressure is put on us, fair or not. But yeah, so this earlier, right? How much does it help? We don't know. No, I don't know the testing on that. I'd love to find out. Probably should find out. Maybe that's more of my responsibility to do. We don't know. We just know that it's out. So they know they're going to catch flack for it. It happens every time. Braden, you've been DQ'd. You caught flack for it. But imagine, right, you win a race and you got DQ'd. People in the paddock knew 5 years ago, right? They don't know, but nobody else outside of it knew now. Now everybody knows, and as a media, I want everybody to know how much important it is that we carry the weight that this platform has, that we can both sway public opinion either way. So being center of this is what it is. It was illegal by a rule change that came out a month prior, and it had put a lot of other pipes illegal. And we don't know how many else was illegal in that deal. So anyway, moving on from that, let's go to some more of the fun questions. We have a few more passes that came in for Pass of the Week. Let's put them on. Let's talk about the good stuff of the sport here. So
Across the line,
check this deal out. This is from Chase Hand, I believe, coming on into the corner. 3 wide, down the inside, slides it in, catches Hodgson off guard so much that he locks the brakes up and goes wide out of the corner and loses the spot here. So another Pass of the Week that we were kind of talking about, down here in the single speed. You see them pull out a line right there, walking him in. He's locked up, locks up. Then he has to lock it up again, and that's what catches him out right there. So cool move. Shout out to Chase Hand on that one. We go over to
Fires overall.
All right, this is from Jesus Vasquez Jr., I believe. This was, to me, one of the Pass of the Week contenders. Absolutely. So Brinkman blocks low, goes out normally, catches him out, late move, under braking, and dives down low. This is the only time this week that I saw someone do this move right here. Coming down the straightaway, sees the leader blocking. Normally you just go behind him. Last second dive right there. That's sick. That was cool.
That's good opportunistic passing right there. Brinkman got caught off guard, got caught maybe being a little lazy, making a pass, not thinking he needed to defend, and Vasquez got the better of him, knowing that was going to happen. Maybe he found a pattern there in what Brinkman was doing, or just knew that all the drivers were doing that. That's a pretty smart move.
I was just about to say, that's pretty smart.
That was heads up deal. Let's see. So we got yours, Jake. I know you're partial to yours on Pass of the Week. Braden, you've seen all 3 of these. Which one takes the cake for you? Jake's slide job, side to side pod. This one right here. Or we got that 3 wide pass from Chase Hand. Who you got?
The last one we saw.
Right here. This one in K Jr. for Vasquez.
Yeah.
That was pretty sick right there. So, boom. All right, Aaron. What about you? Pass of the Week contender. What do you got?
I mean, I like Jake's move. That was a very impressive send from pretty far back, and with the 3 wide move on Chase Hand, it's an impressive move, but that was done a little bit, hard-headedly, I would say. That pass works once and fails 4 more times. So I like the move. It looks really cool, but I would also give it to Jesus Vasquez because that was just straight up a smart play from Vasquez making that pass going into turn 1. I mean, I can't give that kid enough credit for that move there.
All right. Well, they're not giving any love,
Jake's
Jake.
pass in the running?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, for sure that one. The other ones aren't even close.
I was going to say, they have given you any
that's
love.
a shifter pass versus
That
a
is a
K100
really,
pass.
that's a true
it's not
shifter
even
pass right
on
there,
the
really
same
good.
level.
Boom. So
Did the good old Danny Formal up on the curb.
And
Yeah,
that
nice
I
little bit of
know
it.
from Jake's point of view, that hole looked real small when he was going in there.
Oh, I thought I was
It
right
looks
here.
real small from this
Right
angle,
here.
too.
I'm actually pointed at the curb. I thought I was going to launch over the curb and hit curvers.
yeah. I mean, look.
That's
That was
Oh,
full commitment right there.
that was slick, dude.
Yeah.
That was slick. I'll give it to you
and
there.
Vasquez, I'd have to give you guys almost equal. Those are both impressive within their own, rights as a single speed versus a shifter move.
I'm with Braden. I mean, credit to Jesus Vasquez Jr. Hell of a job to him. But, got to be partial to our boy that we're losing out of the seat after this one, Jake. I give it to you. Congrats on that one, man. That was a hell of a move for your last pass of your pro career, dude. That was
I had
sick.
to fit it off in style.
Yeah, man. That was awesome, man. That was a cool move. So, that was slick. Oh, your dad says he has the onboard. Do we need the?
Oh yeah.
What do you mean? Oh yeah, dude. Tell the instant clip of the show. Oh my god, we could have the onboard from that. Oh, we need to. All right, Mark, please send me that after the show. We got to clip that, throw that up this week. That was so sick. That was such a cool
Does he have it up already somewhere? I can grab it real quick.
No. We gotta get wrapped up here soon. We gotta post that, man. That was a sick move, dude. That was sick. That was awesome. All right, man. So wow, a lot of comments. I need to go back and see if we can find some other questions. There was a lot that was coming in while we were getting a little bit deep into it. Let's see. Okay. Good question from Amr. Jake, do you know anyone in the running for your seat? I talked to Marin. Sounds like he's back for 2023 full-time stateside. Do you know if anyone's picking up the old number 6?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I know Pickett's going to stay for another year, but as you know, he's more on the West Coast, and he does the Challenge of the Americans and stuff. So I don't know if he'll do Florida. I doubt it, but I do know they're bringing Crimmers around again. But honestly, I don't know.
Well, that'd be cool. I mean, right? Hopefully the investment continues. I mean, this was
That's probably open. Maybe they're looking. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, right? I mean, that's again, right? Like we got to have hot guns in hell. I mean, though, you guys we come to SuperNats, it was like PSL Karting Factory Railroad starting 6th, starting 5th, starting 7th, starting 10th. I mean,
I think at one of the heat races we were all in it together, and we were like 5 of the 6.
Yeah.
You were first through 4th and then 6th. Yeah.
It was like 4 of you guys in Bertuca, and we were like, dude, like Ronnie's got to be up there, and Dom and Kevin going, please, guys, please, like stay where you are, don't pass, don't kill each other. So managed it well. Oh man, we will definitely. All right. Now people are asking. We'll have to get it. Mark, Fred, if you've got the video, man, please send that one in. I know everybody wants to see it. If not, we'll get that thing up as soon as possible. We'll get Aaron on that. Let me go back here and see if we had any other questions coming on in here for the show, because we had a lot more. Oh, let's see. Oh, okay. This one from Ethan O-Ring. So thoughts on the upcoming Northeast Series. So this is actually some more breaking news. I was actually talking to Keith Raffa, Ryan Raffa's dad from Full Tilt Racing. So the northeastern part of the U.S. has kind of been in limbo a little bit the last couple of years as the Gear Up F Series has faded down a little bit. They lost, unfortunately, Englishtown as a racetrack, but it still has Pittsburgh, has New Jersey, has New York Race Complex, 3 really, really awesome racetracks in about an 8 to 10 hour, maybe 12-hour range. I mean, New York Race Complex is really far up there, but there is going to be a new series coming up. Heard from Keith. He was actually texting me today on the ride back. I sent him a contact for our logo designer. Shout out to our guys at Pride that did that. This jersey here, and they did our KC design, so hopefully they can get hooked up with them to do that. But it's going to be called the Northeast Karting Challenge, sharing some branding with Go Promoterplex's Club Series. It's going to have IAME USA East support. So another Northeast Series to go along with the Rotax Trophy Series up in the north. So you guys are getting some more racing up there with some really big industry mainstays coming your way. So I think that's cool, man. I don't know, what stuff we could do besides give them a whole lot of love on this show. We talk about it every time. The streaming stuff's expensive. It really only makes sense when you're at $150 entries and above for most of these series. So I'm not saying I'll be there in person, but I'm rooting you guys on. But yeah, you guys do have a new series coming your way up in the Northeast. So that's going to be coming on the way. And building off that, I know that we have some giveaways to do. I've got to finish up the tally. I was hoping to get it done before the show. I did not on the KC Fantasy League. Hopefully you guys had Jake French, top 5 in the final. So, he earned you guys some points on that one. But the KC Fantasy League, we had winners this week that are getting from Blaze Driver Coaching. You guys are going to be the winners in X30 and Pro Shifter on the Fantasy League. You get a full year subscription to Blaze Driver Coaching, the Master Championship. I'm going to do a massive KC swag bag giveaway, and I'm going to announce this right now. Whoever wins, once I get the full tally with one drop factored in for the overall KC Fantasy League, while we're kind of self-funding this, we already did one of these videos we've got to produce. We're starting to do next year. We'll be doing a whole lot more of coming to clubs around the country to do KC vlogs with a couple major motorsports influencers and YouTubers. Most notably, the likes of David Land was with me for the first one, and David is a racer at heart. He's going to come and race around the country with me. And so whoever we have winning the overall KC Fantasy League, I'm going to bring you with me to one of those races, whatever one's closest to you, and you can race with us. We'll get that deal fully put together for you to come race a 206 card. Even if you race to something higher, or racing 206 already, we're gonna bring you guys out. And I want to do another giveaway similar to that in December for all of our premium members. So if you keep your subscription of $10 a month, I got some giveaways coming for December. I got some more that we had the discount going for KC merch that'll go all the way through. I still have some Vegas inventory, sold a lot. A couple sizes are gone. That's still available on the website with free shipping, 10% off if anybody wants that. So quick little plug for all that stuff, but I wanted to show some love and announce we're going to do some cool things for everything next year while we're going through for more questions. Let me see if we had any more that came on in while we were going through. I'm trying to see if I can find any other ones, Aaron. I'm going back all the way up this chat because there was a lot that we had in. Oh, man. Shout out to Ricky Worley. Ricky Worley said at the Rock Vegas, they had to do a rock shifter engine change in about 10 minutes for the final on Sunday morning warm-up when their primary lost compression on the stand. So good engine change. Quick. I think the GFC guys got you beat by a couple minutes, but that's cool. I mean, that's so tough, man. Jake, when you're building the cart, you put the engine on, it's got to be at least an hour, 2 hours to get everything right? I mean,
we when we were testing, we got a shipment of carts that came in late, and it was starting to get dark down in Houston. We built a whole entire go-kart in 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. All right, put it on the books. Official KC record book.
And we have PSL's team manager there that watched us. So
okay, so we got a witness.
It was only me and my dad.
He's a biased witness. All right, PSL Burrell guy.
And nothing fell off. I ran about 50 laps and nothing
that should be a race we do next year at Miami Grades. Everybody gets a box of a cart. You got to put it together, do 3 laps, whoever does it the fastest.
Frame up. Wow, man. That's
the only thing that was already together was the bodywork and the graphics. We took it off from the other cart. Everything else had to be put on.
Damn. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, all right. Let's wrap up here for the show. Jake, we know we're missing you, but you had on your one retirement post that you'll be around the track a little bit. So where can anybody find you? I know you got a lot of work you're trying to do on the personal side, a little platform, way to say thanks. Mike is all yours or whatever you want here for this next little bit, man.
Yeah, I do want to thank everybody. You know, the whole karting community, and even what you guys have done, Xander, is it's pretty impressive. You know, I've gone a lot of years of karting, and I definitely think it's escalated, and the fan base, everybody being more involved, community seems to be a lot together more. It's pretty cool. You know, I am sad I'm leaving at this era of it, but like you said, I'll be around. So there's a couple races coming to Texas. I'll be at all the Texas Sprint Series racing, working. So won't be racing. You will not see me in a go-kart next year, but I'll still be around.
Well, we're going to miss you, but I'm glad to hear that you'll be around. We'll definitely get you for some paddock interviews during those races, my man, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. As a guest analyst, do co-announcing for an event or something.
Absolutely. Well, you know,
I may do that.
Whenever you want, man.
So
whenever you want. Sounds like you already got work. Otherwise, I'd hire you right now. But you know, we'll figure it out. Maybe we got some big races, right? USPKS is adding KZ next year, so yeah. I don't know, Jake.
Well, USPKS is coming to Texas. So.
Oh yeah, they're coming to Houston.
Maybe I'll try to sneak on the mic there.
We'll sneak on it, dude. We're only Saturday, Sunday for streaming is all I'm saying, man. You can still work your 9 to 5 during the week, and we can bring you for a race. So I'll fly you out. We'll put you on the mic as our guest analyst. Braden, you've been a guest analyst. You got racing coming up. I know you got a long off season to figure out what your car stuff looks like and everything else, but you know, Mike's yours for the end of this event. You know, MPG, Kart Republic, they're able to get you here. We're happy to have you still in the go-kart. We'd love to see you some more. So what you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good year. A little bit tough from the car side, but you know, good to end it off with a nice, fun week in Vegas. Massive thanks to SKUSA for putting on just a great event. Thanks to you, Xander, for pushing the sport forward in a good direction and giving everyone a platform. You know, no matter who they are. So really appreciate that. Good to be on, and yeah, that's all I got from me.
Well, I got a couple things to add on here. I would give Aaron time, but I know where Aaron's going to be. Aaron's going to be with me at a whole lot of races next year, so no questions there on that. He's going to be around. We're going to have these two guys around. I forgot a little bit to go over some of the stuff with the broadcast. So in the last couple minutes, we'll go right to the 2-hour mark on the stream. I wanted to share a little bit of that fun stuff with you guys. So obviously, as we know, unbelievable production. Cannot thank SuperKarts USA enough. A lot of people were asking how the Porsche sponsorship came together. 100% alley-oop from SKUSA. I would love to say that I have contacts at Porsche and that it was me that knew Patrick Long from way back in the day. But Patrick Long is an old school, SuperKarts USA shifter driver. We talked about him on the broadcast, had him on there. So he's been around. And Rob Howden with EKN really alley-ooped that deal. First of all, congratulations to Rob on going in the SKUSA Hall of Fame. And a thank you to him and David Cole. David Cole, not a lot of people know, start with the broadcast stuff. That mic'd up hot lap of Mike Smith. That was a last second deal. Thanks to Forward Direction Motorsports. Mike called me Tuesday night, right after I managed to have my only losing night at the casino, lost $150. Then went back up the rest of the week, went up a couple hundred. Nothing big, but it was like the only time I've won in Vegas. He called me around 11. He's like, Xander, listen, man, I want to race this track so bad. It kills me that I'm not racing KA Masters. I want to race. I know I'm working for you. If I get a cart tomorrow, I think I can. Can I go on the track before anyone else does? I say, yeah, talk to Neil. He talks to Neil, gets it cleared. We're going out 30 minutes before the track walk. And I thought Mike had brought his GoPro. He did not. He thought I had a GoPro. I left mine at home. I packed everything else. I forgot my GoPro. So I go to David Cole, and I go to Nate Dean. I'm like, Dave, I'm sorry, man. I need to borrow your GoPro. And he goes, Xander, that's one drink on the week already. One free can, 0 for Kart Chaser. You owe me one. And I said, yeah. Wasn't even David's. It was Nate Dean, the dude who's making it work for those guys over there. All right, new kid on the block. Gave us a GoPro. Got that video out. Week goes on. Week goes pretty well. One thing that's always tough for us when we go to these temporary racetracks is that the internet. We don't have a line in for the Rio. It's somewhere in the ballpark of $15,000, $20,000 for them to run us internet from the hotel. So that's out of the question. That ain't happening. It's $10,000 plus when I've talked to people about getting the satellite internet set up. Can't do that. So I was like, okay, I have Starlink, I have Verizon, I have T-Mobile, I have AT&T hotspots, I have everything that I possibly can. We're going to test it, and if worse comes to worse, I'm going to figure it out. And so luckily, they all were good. T-Mobile hotspot was what we were using to start. And then, but the thing with that is there's a 50 gigabyte cap on the data plan. So normally you have to run a couple SIM cards and cycle them through the week. So I went to go get a couple more and on Friday, and then they gave us they were like, dude, this home internet option's portable. You can use it. So we use it, set it up, and we go to Sunday morning in Vegas, and then all of a sudden opening ceremony starts lagging. And the internet goes from 60 megabits up, 80 megabits up, 600 down to 5 to 7. We got to be at 10 minimum. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm calling T-Mobile, calling support, and as of right now, my T-Mobile account says that I live at the Rio because I had to set it. They had my registered address as my billing address and not in Vegas. So as of right now, I am a Vegas resident per T-Mobile's home internet. Got that sorted out. And then for driver intros, I got to apologize on the show to Connor Zillish because we put the driver intros. We tested everything we could with the Jumbotron through the week, but it was up a little bit late, so I couldn't do the full run. And when they start playing, the music's going and the audio wasn't. And I'm like, oh, no. And so Kyle, my producer's tapped me. He's like, just talk. You recorded it. You know what it is. Talk. And so I start talking, and I'm like trying to remember the top 10. And my script was wrong. So I called DeMello out in 8th. He started 7th because there was a penalty. And I missed Connor. And Connor's thing went on the stage, and he didn't even get to walk across. So love that kid like a brother. And I apologized to him on the stream. And then I was going to go down and do an interview with him. And I missed that. And then Pro Shifter, I was ready if we were going to have the announcing stuff. I told Jake on the grid, I was like, I screwed up X30. Like, this has got to be right. And so I had my script ready, and same thing, I had to do it live, which I didn't want to do because I didn't want to mess up anyone's name or anything. But other than that, little hiccups for swinging for the fences. I've said on the show, we try to shoot for the stars, aim for the moon. I'm not comparing us to karting streamers. I'm not comparing us to anything else. I'm comparing us to the car guys, to the F1, to the NBC, and we're doing what we can on a shoestring budget everywhere that we go. And that's not a knock on these series. I mean, we're just not a multi-million-dollar company. So SKUSA came to us back in August. They said, Xander, what's your dream broadcast? What's the number? Signed off without any questions. We sold ads to help knock that number down for them. And they're just, they've been amazing to work with. All of our series have been so great to work with all year. And I want to thank, our entire KC team. I mean, we have so many unbelievable individuals, Kyle, Trevor, who have been with us all year and were with me in the RV driving there. I got to buy the RV off a loan last second, get that. Flew to Cincinnati Wednesday before SuperNats, drove it Thursday, packed it up Friday. We rolled out Saturday. We just got back literally 30 minutes before the show, did the night shift, and Trevor and Kyle helped with that. And Caleb Smock, Sean Burkle, Jenna Tommy, all three people that have been phenomenal with us all year that we're not going to be able to have return next year. And I'm going to miss those people to death. I love to say that this was, I get 2 to 3 years out of people before they hopefully go on to bigger and better things. And they're all destined for greatness. And I got a longer post coming for all of them. and then our entire rest of the camera crew team. I mean, everyone that works for us is just a racer that wants to be around racing. And I'm just so thankful for every one of you guys that have tuned into every single show this year, and everyone that's worked for us and supported and subscribed and bought merch. And it just means the world. You know, I told someone it was kind of an expensive side hustle because we're putting every dollar back in besides paying my rent and everything and getting by. And we're good. I don't want to make it seem like we're going to go out. But you know, we would not be here without all of you tuning in, supporting, sharing, subscribing. Jake, Braden, all the drivers. I mean, you guys have been so great about interviews. You know, we make you guys do the goofiest things for TikTok and for everything else, and it's never a no. And none of this happens without you guys. And lastly, I have to thank my family, my mom, my dad. I'm living in Texas. My family's back in Atlanta. I try to make it home for Thanksgiving in December. I fly back on Friday to go see them. And I wouldn't be here without them either. So thank you, everybody. We love you guys so much. This was such an awesome event, huge success, and I'm excited for 2023 to keep working with everybody to make it bigger and better. So thank you, Aaron, Braden, Jake, for coming on the show, guys. Appreciate you boys a whole lot, man. Thank you guys so much, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We love you guys, and we're gonna keep at it and make this thing as big as we can.